Well, hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Nano Dimension. And some of you guys are going to go, oh, you're obsessed. I'm not obsessed, you're obsessed. Somebody's obsessed. You know who is obsessed? There's a company that Nano Dimension just started working with in Europe because, we'll talk about it, in their words, the US is SPAC frenzy. There's a new company that Nano Dimension just jumped in. This is breaking news, seriously, today. Very, very exciting. Nano Dimension engages Carl Square for European acquisition search. Now, a lot of us know that Nano Dimension has been working with Needham & Co. Needham & Co. is a massive mergers and acquisition company, and they're actually based here in the US. Now, right by my house here in the Twin Cities, there's a Needham & Co. office, so I am familiar with this company. Now, mergers and acquisitions, essentially those are the companies that help Nano Dimension find other companies to buy, take over, acquire, whatever you want to say, right? So there's a really good statement from Yoav Stern himself in this article that I want to go over with you, and I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing because Nano Dimension seems to be broadening their horizon for mergers and acquisitions. And again, we don't have any news other than this, right, on mergers and acquisitions. We don't know what companies they might be acquiring, but we do know, based on a previous interview on the Red Chip Money Report, that Yoav Stern wants to purchase multiple private companies, okay? And we know that they have a lot of cash. Now, I have not put Nano Dimension in my long-term portfolio. I have not traded it in my 10x challenge over on my Discord. Because I don't know how the market's going to react to this February 15th meeting where they're essentially doubling the number of shares available. And I don't know how the stock is going to react to that. And if there's some sort of correction back down under $10 or something like that, I plan on loading up on Nano Dimension in my long-term portfolio because I still have all the faith in the world in this company that they will do very, very well. At the end of this video, we're going to talk about the Ark Invest situation as well. Some people are thinking that Ark Invest is selling Nano Dimension, like selling out of their position. So stick around to the end. We'll talk about that in this video as well. But let's jump right into the chart. I want to show you where Nano Dimension is today. We're trading right now at about 14.02 per share. So this is hovering, it's kind of consolidating in this $13.50 to $14 range. This is good price action right now for this market. This market is crazy still. I think it's starting to settle down a little bit. I think people's diamond hands are starting to turn into something else. You know, like sweaty hands, freaking out. I think the battle is intensifying, and people are losing on both sides. So, but I think that's making people pump money into other stocks as well. So I think that's overall a good thing for the market if you're a long-term investor, short-term investor, whatever, and you don't only want to hold a couple stocks. Hey, we just gained a cent, 14.03. This is good news. Really good news as I'm talking. But let's jump into the article. Again, it says Nano Dimension engages Carl Square for European acquisition search. Let's talk about what Carl Square is. Carl Square is an investment bank with offices in Berlin, Copenhagen, Hamburg, London, Munich, Stockholm. Carl Square supports companies and their shareholders to assist in implementing their M&A, mergers and acquisition goals. Carl Square has already introduced Nano Dimension to several attractive targets in Europe. So this is they're already having a cool relationship, sitting down, drinking margaritas, you know, whatever people do when they do mergers and acquisitions talk. Here is the statement from Yoav Stern. He had a couple margaritas before he said this. So, our mergers and acquisitions search over the last 2 quarters has evolved. As we have expanded its geographical footprint, we are now focusing on 2 kinds of acquisition targets. One will dramatically expand our go-to-market channels and give us exposure to vertical markets, while the other targets include a set of companies that have transformative technologies and products which are complementary to our product roadmap. The present ubiquity of special purpose public acquisition vehicles, or SPACs, especially in the US market, is causing price surges of certain targets. Hence, we are using the opportunity to filter out valuations that don't fit our business model. Since we have strong cash reserves, we are accelerating our technology and product development forward beyond the plans of mid-2020. I am confident with the help of our investment banking partners, we will expedite the M&A process to synergistically support our growth plans. I am also confident, Yoav, very confident. So I want to go back to this one part because I don't know what this part means, okay? The present ubiquity of special purpose acquisition companies, especially in the US, is causing price surges of certain targets. Hence, we are using the opportunity to filter our valuations that don't fit our business model. So, I don't know exactly what that means. Does that mean that they're potentially targeting companies that are already going through SPAC merger processes? Is it talking about the fact that there's a certain sector of businesses that the valuations are increasing just based on the potential that they might go through a SPAC merger? So what does that mean? I would love to talk about it down in the comments. If you guys have any idea what this specific question means, I would, or what this specific section means, I would love to talk about that because I don't quite get it. But I do agree that there's a freaking SPAC frenzy right now, like totally right. And I expect more regulation this year through the next year as well. And I think they're doing the right thing by opening up and broadening their search to the European market as well. Because again, this is a company based out of Israel and Florida. They have office in Hong Kong as well, and this is a global company, and I think it's smart for them to broaden their horizons and search around. Again, if you guys have any ideas who they might be acquiring in Europe, let's talk about it down in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion. But I really think this is a really good thing for Nano Dimension. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty with this meeting coming up. I'm gonna pull up the chart here so we can talk through it again. Back on the 25th? Yeah, 26th of January. This got up to almost $18 a share, right? And that's a huge run from where we were just last month even, right? So you got to kind of keep that in mind with Nano Dimension. I expected somewhat of a pullback from those highs. I expected that 1350 would be some sort of support level, and I'm glad that seems to be shaking out. Because if this is the low and we get good mergers and acquisition news, we will probably jump up over $20 at some point relatively quickly once we have good news. Now, I anticipate that they will wait until after the meeting on February 15th to give us any sort of mergers and acquisition news. I would anticipate that, I guess I'm guessing, right, that this Carl Square announcement gives them a bit more time. When I used to work in retail, okay, there's this philosophy of checking in with your customer. Even if you can't help them right on time, you're like saying, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for waiting. I know it's been 5 minutes. It's not going to be that much longer, okay? And what that does is reset their clock, right? So they're not as impatient. Now, if Nano Dimension wasn't putting out any sort of information at all, people, shareholders, would get increasingly more and more frustrated and more impatient with the situation, especially short-term traders, okay? Now, in this case, this may have reset the clock for them to bring out more news, okay? So just kind of, that's how I'm thinking about this Carl Square announcement, because it sounds like that they've already helped them find some potential targets, and this relationship could have been going on for a little while, and we don't necessarily know how long it's been going on. So, but I think this is really good news. This is sort of resetting the clock for some people. I think that's a good thing. I think you do have to be patient with this company because they have a ton of cash right now. They're doing some really cool things, and I think they're going to do some good things with this cash. But we'll see. We'll see. We don't know yet. Okay. Now, Ark Invest. Ark Invest did sell some shares the other day of Nano Dimension. But it's still, if we pull up Ark Q, for instance, okay? Nano Dimension is still in the 9th place in the Ark Q fund, with now a 3.18% weighting. That's pretty high, guys. Like, last time we checked, this was in the 16th spot, I believe, right? So now we're getting to the point where Ark Invest is finally rebalancing Nano Dimension, okay? Because of price fluctuations. That's a good place for them to be. Now, there is almost on a daily basis, they're buying and selling Tesla. They're buying and selling Pacific Biosciences. Some of their biggest holdings, if you pay attention to Ark and what they do rebalancing, okay? Now, some people are freaking out about this because it seems to be one of the first times that Ark is actually selling and rebalancing Nano Dimension. I don't think this is inherently a bad thing. I don't think they are leaving their position of Nano Dimension, but they have made probably a bunch of money on their position of Nano Dimension. They have. Now, this is also in the Ark W fund as well, right? The holdings for Ark W, we are in, I think, the 50th position last time I checked. Let's pull that up here as well. But if we look at the weighting in terms of dollar amount, it's still a big chunk of money. So yeah, $60 million worth of Nano Dimension in the Ark W fund. So between the two funds, okay, between Ark W and Ark Q, we are looking at about 160 million essentially. That's a lot, guys. That's a lot. And it's still a very big chunk of the company. It isn't anywhere close to 10% of the company like it used to be, but it's still a big chunk of the company. Now remember, this is a much bigger company than it was when we first started looking at it. Valuation wise, it's over $2 billion now. When we started talking about Nano Dimension, I think it was under 300 million. It's big difference. Okay, so keep that in mind when you think of Ark, of what Ark is doing with Nano Dimension. I'm not worried about these rebalancing, and I haven't been when it comes to Tesla or other positions. I understand a little bit of the mechanics of this, and I know that they need to rebalance these positions. So I'm kind of indifferent to these position changes, but let me know what you guys think. If you're worried about it, I understand, I get it, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. I really don't. But hey, I could be wrong. I'm always the first to admit it. Could be wrong. Could be. I have no idea what I'm talking about. We'll see. Now, Nano Dimension's up again, $14.11. I just wanted to show you the chart one more time, guys. Again, I'm holding off until after the meeting. I don't know how the market's going to react. I would anticipate that I've already heard from a couple of you that you have voted yes for the motion to increase the number of shares. I would anticipate that this will pass. That Nano Dimension will be able to raise more money, do more offerings, whatever. And as long as there's a bunch of institutional investors that are willing to take part in these direct offerings, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing long-term for the company. But again, could be wrong. I don't know. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for another video. I appreciate you. Hey, if you have any questions for me about Nano Dimension, just reach out. We can talk in the comments, or shoot me an email, or contact me on Instagram. Again, thank you so much for joining me for another video. I'm Richard Allen. If you didn't already do it, click that beautiful red subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.